Right now, there is no better 1-2 punch in the NBA than LeBron James and Luka Dončić. JJ Redick is squeezing the most out of this team every single night, and you can tell that they come into each game with the energy of, hey, we need to be revving up for the playoffs. We're not seeing a LeBron James that's coasting through the regular season as we've seen in the past. We're seeing a locked-in LeBron who knows that he has a limited amount of time left in his career, but more importantly, a limited amount of time left before the postseason with these Lakers, with Luka Dončić, to figure out the chemistry and to figure out what works in accordance to winning. They're the 2 seed. They've won 8 straight. I believe they're also in position in the loss column right now above the Nuggets. 21 losses. The Nuggets have 22. They're both even in the wins column. So they are in control of their own destiny here with 20 games out to clinch up the 2 seed and to be in a great position to make a run in the West. Sometimes in the playoffs with basketball, it comes down to not just who has the best player, but who has the best second option. And if you're the Lakers and in crunch time and in overtime like they did last night, Luka got 5 out of the gate. It's in overtime. Down the stretch in the fourth quarter when the Lakers were down by 10, it was Luka with the ball in his hands and LeBron playing as the secondary playmaker off of him. That kind of mismatch that both of those guys can create and that kind of gravity in which both of them have on the floor together, both as playmakers and as shooters and as creators, that's unmatched in the league. In fact, I can't think of a time where we've had anybody or any tandem that were at the peak of their powers like that since, and this is going to sound crazy, but Chris Paul and James Harden with the Rockets. Chris Paul and James Harden with the Rockets were 2 guys who could be the fulcrum of your offense, 2 guys that you had to pay a hefty amount of attention to, who can run the pick and roll, who can score, who can shoot, who can play make. And also for Chris Paul and James Harden, people laugh at that run the Rockets had. That was the only team that challenged a fully healthy Golden State Warriors team that had Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson. That was the only team. They had them up against the brink multiple times.
They had an unreplicatable failure at the three-point line in Game 7.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Like something that will never be done again. No one team has ever gotten colder at the most inopportune time, the Rockets, from unseating the Warriors in the West.
They also had the CP3 hammy. They also had the injury, and also just the fact that a guy like James Harden has come up short time after time in the playoffs. He is an unreliable postseason performer the deeper you get in the playoffs. So that's all predictable when it comes to what happens to the Rockets. Injury luck for CP3, Harden's inability to come up big late into the postseason as he's getting ready to go to Cancun or wherever the hell else he wants to go. That was obvious. What I would say about this, the Lakers having LeBron and Luka doing it at their size and with their basketball knowledge and acumen, and as they've been the problem solvers for their team, literally both of them since they were 15 years old, this is something that we need to be putting greater emphasis on. I know Charles Barkley is mad because all ESPN does, quote unquote, is talk about the Lakers, talk about the Warriors. But when you look at 1-2 punches in the league, you can keep Tatum and Brown. You can keep a guy like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who has needed so much help down the stretch. The Cavaliers are great, right? They're 52-10. They've won 12 straight. They're number 1 in the East. I'm cool on Spider Mitchell and Evan Mobley. Or if you want to throw Darius Garland into that, realm, you can do so. Give me LeBron and Luka in any series they play in, and give me that tandem in any kind of like futures run right now in the NBA. It's hard for me to watch what they're doing on a night-to-night basis right now and think that the only thing that can't stop them wouldn't just be injury, because it feels like they've got so many answers to every single problem the teams have been presenting them with.
And you're bringing up this conversation for this season or for how many years in the future?
I would say this year right now. This year right now. That team's not perfect. They're not perfectly crafted at all, but let's not forget, Luka Dončić was in the finals last year. And the Mavericks had a much better team around him, but he didn't have a second option the level of LeBron James and a guy like Kyrie Irving. He's not. As good as Kyrie was this year and was last year, he's not as consistent and as basketball smart as LeBron James is. And they're getting a long ramp-up period, a longer ramp-up period than you would need when you have 2 geniuses on the court like that to learn each other and figure out how they can best communicate and create advantages on offense. The Lakers are a bigger threat than people are giving them credit for, and it's because they have the best 1-2 punch in the NBA. And second to them is not what the Celtics have. It damn sure isn't what the Knicks have, because though they have the 5th best record in the league, they're 0-9 against every team ahead of them, the Celtics, the Cavs, the Lakers, and the Thunder. The Lakers have the best 1-2 punch, and the runner-up to them, especially when it comes to who I fear in the playoffs, is the Golden State Warriors. Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler. Those are the best 2 dynamic duos, 1-2 punches in the league, and that's going to matter come playoff time. I don't care what the other stats are. I don't care what the net ratings are. I don't care what your total record is. When you have 2 guys that are hard to solve for on defense, and they're as smart and have seen so many postseason reps, like playoff Jimmy is still somewhere in there.
It sure is. I also think what we're seeing right now is not the most accurate depiction of what we're going to see come playoffs. I know that might be a very lazy and casual take about the NBA, but it's a very valid criticism of how different the games are right now until we get to playoff time. And not just the quality of team, but the actual demeanor and strategy that goes into those games.
Yes, and the difference is we thought the Lakers' defense would take a step back when you lose a guy like Anthony Davis and you bring in a person who's a turnstile on defense like Luka. They've actually gotten better somehow. Like, they're a top 3 defense, I believe, since Luka has gotten there, and they're doing so by getting crucial stops in big moments against good teams offensively. Karl Anthony Towns had 12 points last night, 3 for 13 from the field. He looked like a guy, again, because he can go for 30 any night, a shell of himself last night. Whereas Luka Dončić on the other side is dancing all around him, getting to any spot he wants to, getting his shot off, making them look foolish. Like, when you have that guy as the number 1 and you finally have LeBron James to be able to turn over the franchise and say, this guy's the future, he's the face, he's 25 years old. At 40, I can take a little bit of a break here and there, let him go off, and when he needs me, I'll just cut to the basket back door, catch a oop. Like, it's going to be tough to stop. I put my Lakers futures in already. Hard Rock Bet got my money.
So nothing I can say can dissuade you now. Now, you know, the feet are dug into the dirt.
I'm not hedging anything. I'm not. As a matter of fact, I did it a long time ago. I did it a couple of weeks ago when this first happened, and I just feel even more entrenched and stronger about it because the odds have been rolling in my favor so far.
So you've got, in terms of top duos in the NBA currently, you've got Lakers at 1 with Luka and LeBron. At 2, you've got Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler.
Here's 3.
Can I make a case?
Okay, who you got?
For the Nuggets with Jokic and Murray.
Oh, man. Jamal Murray's looked so good lately, too.
And
much better.
He sure might have. Not that I'm watching the games.
Yeah.
But I can tell you what I do watch in the playoffs, and he just flips a switch when it comes. He just seems to always have the ball in his hands when it matters most and making those shots more often than not. So I almost would rather have Jokic and Murray over any of the 2 options you just listed.
So you drive a good point because Jokic is single-handedly the most unsolvable player in the NBA. Giannis is the most dominant. Jokic is the most unsolvable. And I believe a guy like Luka Dončić and LeBron James are like the most solution-oriented. They're the ones that can figure everything out at the highest capacity than anybody else. So there's levels to this, of course, when you're talking about offensive threats or fulcrums of a team's focus on the offensive side of the ball. You're right about Jamal Murray, though. And they've won a championship together, and there's something to be said for a tandem that has also done it and seen it all the way through versus these other 2 that are unproven. And again, Tatum and Brown should have a bigger argument in this case because they're fresh off of winning a title together, and their supporting cast is better than any of the other squads. Right? Like,
well, we just saw a historic performance from Derek White and Peyton Pritchard.
I don't want to hear about it.
It's the jersey. It's not the player.
I don't want to hear about it. Can't believe that the clowns let them drop 40 apiece. Just getting their confidence up ahead of the.
But I will say there is something as a instincts from a sports fan. It's so much easier to stomach what could happen versus what you saw already.
Yeah.
I saw the Nuggets be able to do their thing. We haven't actually seen a playoff series with Luka and LeBron, obviously.
You're right, but whew, come on. What are we talking about here? Like, we just saw Luka drag a Mavericks team that we did not think heading into the playoffs would be in the finals. They were a 5 seed, I believe, in the West last year. We just saw Luka do that. Now he's got LeBron James as his tag team partner. Like, LeBron looks healthy. It's going to be fun to watch. Speaking of